Hi, this is Mr. Kieffer. We're going to try a challenging project today. We're going to try to make those paddles that move across like this, and the ball bounces off the paddle. And I'll tell you, this is not an easy one, but we'll keep working on it. So here we go. Let's go ahead and go to create. Obviously, you got to sign in. Go to create. And I will get rid of my face so I can see better. So what we'll want to do is we want to set up 3 different sprites, and then we'll want to do the backdrop. So let's go ahead and just kind of knock those out. The first sprite that we want is the ball. And the second sprite that we want is the paddle. So we'll go down and find that paddle. There it is. And the last sprite that we want is the line. And you'll see why after we end up doing all these different things. Hopefully it'll make sense to you. One thing I would encourage you to do is to go ahead and try different things and see what works for you. So let's go ahead and I'll just move this red line almost all the way to the bottom. Something like right there should do it. And we'll move this paddle close to the line, but not too close, and then put this right there. We might move that paddle down just a little bit. And then we're going to go with the backdrop. I actually really like the playing field, but if you want a different backdrop, you certainly can choose a different one. It doesn't have to be the playing field. It could be this neon tunnel if you want. Doesn't make any difference to me. Whatever you think looks cool. Okay, so we have all the pieces in place. So now we do need to start programming those parts and pieces. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to work on, there's quite a bit of programming and coding for the ball. So let's start there first. We'll start with events, and when the green flag is checked, then it's going to start all the action going. By the way, this is a very challenging one, and so if it doesn't make a total sense to you, just keep working on it. I'm learning how to use Scratch myself, so just feel free to just work on it and do the best you can. So the first thing we want to do once we got that is we want to point in direction of 45 degrees. So it's got 90 down there, so we'll change that to 45. And then we'll want to put it in a forever loop. That just means it's in a continual loop. So whenever it runs into this, it will do it. And then we want to move the ball 15 steps. So we'll put that in the forever loop and make that 15 steps. Oh, come on here. There we go. Make that 15 steps. And then when it hits the edge, we'll want it to move. We'll want it to bounce. So if on edge, bounce. So we'll set it in a certain direction. And then when it hits the edge, it'll bounce. And you can see it's doing just that right now. So it's going to point in a direction of 45 degrees. And then it'll just bounce around all day long. So that's good. We can stop that from happening. And so that's the first part of the program that we want to get done, or the coding. And then we'll go ahead and click events again, and we'll go with when checked, when the green flag is checked. And then we will use another forever loop. So we'll go ahead and put that in there like that. And then, now this is something we haven't done before. If we're going to use an if-then statement. So we'll put that within the forever loop. So it will continually do this. If this is true, then it will do something else. And so what we want to put in there is if it's touching the paddle, then do something else. So let's go ahead and put in the paddle will be the next thing. If touching the paddle, then do this. So we'll put the touching, put that right up in that shape there. And then we do want to change this to paddle. So that's good. It's that we have that option. And then we'll want to change the score by 1. So let's go to variables. And it says change or set my variable. And it says change my variable by 1. But we want to change that so that it says my score or the score. So let's go ahead and make a variable. Let's click right up here, make a variable, and then put down just score in there. You can use for all sprites, that's fine. Then click OK. Okay, and now you'll notice that, oh, it did, oh, there it is, score. And so we can, the first thing we're going to want to do is change the score. So let's make that score. And we may as well do set as well because we're going to be using that in just a second. So we'll change the score by 1. So we're going to actually get the score thing to pop up here. Isn't that cool? So we're going to change that by 1. And then we'll turn it 190 degrees. So let's go ahead and do that. Turn it clockwise 190 degrees. It says 15. We have to change that to 190. And then also we'll want it to move 10 steps. So we'll go 10 steps and move that just like that, 10 steps. And then we will want it to wait a half a second. So we'll put wait in there, click on that and say 0.5. And then that will be it for that. And so if it touches the paddle, the score will change and then it'll go in a different direction. So that's pretty awesome. We also want to add one more thing along that line, and let's go to events. We'll click when checked, when the flag is checked. Then we will set the score. So we'll go back to variables. And because we made a new variable, the score, we can actually use this. We'll set the score to 0. So when the flag is checked, one of the first thing it's going to do is set the score to 0. So we always start with 0 because otherwise it would end up where you end up before. Okay, so those are the 3 things that you want to make sure to have done in programming or coding the ball. So the next thing we want to do is to go to the paddle. And so we'll flip over to the paddle. And then we will start with events. When the green flag is checked, we'll put in another forever loop. Put that right there. And so we've got forever. And we want to set X to the mouse. So we want to move this paddle with the mouse. So we're going to go ahead and set. Well, you start out by setting X to a number. Okay, we'll do that. So we'll slide that over there. But now we can actually go to the sensing. Now we're going to grab a hold of the mouse X and slide that in where the number is. So now it's set X to the mouse. And if we run that, that means wherever the mouse is, that will move the paddle. See how that works? And I don't have to click on it or anything. It just goes right there. So you can move it back and forth, back and forth. So this is pretty awesome. So that's done. And now the next thing we want to program is the line, because when the ball hits the line, the red line, you want the program to stop. And so that will be the next thing that we'll work on. And of course, we'll start with when the green flag is checked. We'll go there. We will use a forever loop again. So this will happen forever, continually. It will keep happening. And then we'll use an if-then statement. So let's go to back to control and use the if-then statement. So if something is true, then it will do something else. And we will want to use sensing. and touching the ball. We'll go ahead and slide that right on over here, right into that part of it. We will want to change, well, we want to change this to ball instead of mouse pointer. We'll change that to ball. So if the line touches the ball, then you're going to want to stop all. Let's see, control the events. We will want to stop all. So now if the ball touches the line, which is what we're programming right now, it will stop all the different events. So you can see line, and then you have the paddle, and then you have the ball. All those three different things need to be programmed to do different things, because this gets the ball bouncing around off the walls, and then this gets the ball when it hits the paddle to change the score, and then move it in this 190 degrees in 10 steps. And then it'll go back to bouncing off the wall. And then when you start over, it will set the score to 0. Now on this one, when the flag is checked, the mouse will follow. So you would click that. The paddle, because we programmed the paddle, is set to the mouse, so it will move along with the arrow. Perfect. And then lastly, you've got the line, and you've got that set up so that if the ball touches the line, it will stop everything. And so that's what we've got going. So let's just take a look at this. Let's crank it up here, and you can move it. And you can see the counter is going up, and it keeps going, and just like that, bouncing around all over until I miss it and it touches the red line, and then it stops. So that's really fun. I hope you've enjoyed this project. Make sure to go ahead and save it. We'll go to File, and it's not letting me save it for some reason. Well, I hope normally we should be able to save it. I guess I did not sign in. Something is not quite right, but you'll want to save it and then make sure to save it, share it after that. So save it right here under File. I didn't sign in, so that's my bad, but I think this will still work for your purpose. So save it under File and then share it with me, and you'll be good to go. So make sure to sign in. Obviously, I forgot to do that step. Have a great day. Bye.